A poor charcoal maker's son discovered a magical purse that could never run out of money. With it, he dared to ask for a princess' hand in marriage, but the princess tricked him, stole the magic purse, and left him to die. What happened next turned an entire kingdom upside down. Hey, story lovers, it's Joy here, your favorite storyteller, and this is Meet the Isekas. Once upon a time, in an ancient kingdom in the Philippines, there lived a king who had only one child, a daughter so beautiful that men crossed mountains and seas just to hear stories of her face. When the princess came of age, the king made a proclamation throughout the land. Drummers carried the message from village to village. Town criers shouted it in crowded marketplaces. Whoever could bring the king 10 cartload of money for 10 straight days would marry the princess and inherit the throne. But if anyone failed before the 10th day, they would be executed. Now, in a poor little town near the edge of the forest, lived the son of a charcoal maker. He owned no land, no fine clothes, no title, only dreams. When he heard the king's announcement, his heart caught fire immediately. He ran home and declared boldly that he would marry the princess and become king. His mother sighed. Poor people know how dangerous dreams can be. The next morning, the young man went into the forest as usual with his hatchet to cut wood. Deep inside the forest stood an enormous ancient tree. He began chopping at its trunk, but suddenly a strange voice echoed through the woods. Do not cut this tree. Reach into the hollow and take what is waiting for you. The young man froze. At first, he thought hunger was playing tricks on his mind. But the voice came again. Slowly, cautiously, he reached his hand into the hollow trunk. Inside was an old purse. He opened it, but it was empty. Angrily, he threw it to the ground, and then silver coins spilled out endlessly across the forest floor. The young man stared in disbelief. His hands trembled. He picked up the purse and shook it again. More silver coins poured out again and again and again. The forest itself seemed to laugh with him as the coins danced through the grass. That night, he spread mats across the floor of his mother's tiny hut and emptied silver until the room glittered like moonlight. His mother's eyes widened with shock. At that moment, she stopped calling him foolish. The next day, the charcoal maker's son went to the palace. The guards nearly drove him away. His clothes were rough, his manners were simple, but the king overheard the commotion and ordered the young man brought before him. The king repeated the entire condition. Fail and you will die. Still, the young man accepted. Then, before leaving, he requested to meet the princess. And when he saw her, his heart nearly stopped. She was even more beautiful than the stories he had heard. Her laughter sparkled like sunlight on water. Her eyes were sharp and proud. The young man left the palace more determined than ever. Soon, the kingdom watched in astonishment as 10 heavy carts overflowing with shiny silver arrived at the palace. Then 10 more the next day, and 10 more after that. Whispers spread everywhere. The poor charcoal maker's son possessed impossible wealth. Even the princess became curious, but curiosity soon turned into worry. For although the young man was rich, he was not handsome, not royal, not refined. The princess feared she would spend her life trapped beside a man she could never love. Then one of the guards revealed the truth. The wealth came from a magical purse. The princess's eyes darkened, and in that moment, greed quietly entered her heart. She summoned the young man privately. This time, she smiled sweetly. She spoke kindly, laughed softly. The poor young man believed at last that she had begun to care for him. Ah, sometimes the sweetest smiles hides the sharpest knife. The princess fed him rich food and sweet wine until sleep overcame him. Then quietly she stole the magical purse and vanished. When the young man awoke and discovered the theft, terror consumed him. Without the purse, he could never complete the king's challenge. Death awaited him. That very night, he fled the kingdom. He wandered for months, then years, across forests, across valleys, across lonely mountains. Hunger became his companion. Then one day, exhausted and starving, he found a strange tree heavy with fruits. He ate greedily, but moments later, a horrifying pain shot through his skull. Two sharp horns burst from his forehead. The young man screamed in terror. The next day, he discovered another tree bearing different fruits. Desperate, he ate from it too. Immediately, the horns disappeared. Slowly, a dangerous idea began forming in his mind. He tested both fruits again and again until he understood their magic perfectly. One produced horns, the other removed them. The young man smiled for the first time in many months. Destiny had finally given him a weapon. By the time he returned home, nearly 2 years later, no one recognized him, not even his own parents. He disguised himself further and found work in the royal palace kitchen as an assistant to the cook. Quietly, patiently, he waited. Then one day, when the chief cook was absent, he crushed the horn-producing fruit into the royal meal. The cure he mixed carefully into a jar of water. That evening, the king and queen and princess sat to eat. Moments later, screams echoed around the palace. Sharp, ugly horns burst through their heads. The kingdom was plunged into chaos. The king secretly ordered the cook to find a doctor immediately before word spread through the kingdom. But the young charcoal maker intercepted the terrified cook. Then he revealed everything: the stolen purse, the betrayal, the magical fruits. Together, they formed a plan. Disguised now as a royal physician, the charcoal maker entered the king's chamber. The royal family covered their heads in shame. The king begged desperately for help. The false doctor spoke gravely. The cure would be painful. The king and queen must endure severe weeping. The princess must dance until exhaustion. Only then could the horns be removed. Desperation makes even kings foolish. The treatment began immediately. The servants whipped the king and queen until blood stained their robes. Meanwhile, the doctor danced endlessly with the princess until she collapsed from exhaustion. Only then did he finally give them the magical water, and one by one, the horns disappeared. Days later, weakened by suffering and humiliation, the king and queen died. The mysterious doctor inherited the throne and married the princess. Only after becoming king did he reveal the truth. He was the poor charcoal maker's son, the very man she had betrayed. The princess lowered her head in shame. But the new king did not seek revenge anymore. He ruled wisely. Though he lacked royal education, he surrounded himself with wise advisors and honest people. And under his rule, the kingdom prospered more than ever before. Because sometimes The people who understand suffering become the rulers who value justice most. And that's the end of today's video. Please don't forget to subscribe for more intriguing folklore and mythology stories. Leave us your interesting thoughts, suggestions, lessons learned, and comments in the comment section. We love to read them. Like the video and share. See you in our next one. Bye.